So what we are going to do, first of all, we will learn that how we can create the records in the data extension. So there are two ways. So there are two ways to insert the data into the data extension. The first way that we can import it. So the import basically we have seen in the list. So it will work the same way that you have to choose the file from where you want to import the data, and then you need to do the mapping, and then you just have to import the data, right? So this one you can try. Okay. Yeah. So these are the delimiter. So whenever we save the data into our file, right? So either it will be a comma delimited or tab delimited or another. So we have the CSV file now. So CSV full form is comma separated values. So whenever you save any file in the CSV format, so it means that it is a comma delimited. It means comma separated values. So if it is CSV file, then you will have to choose the comma delimiter. If you have a file in which the data is tab delimited, delimiter means separator. So how the different values in the file are separated. So with the help of the comma, they are separated, or how? Okay. So if it is CSV file, then that is a comma delimited. And if you separate the values using the tab, then that would be a tab delimiter. So let me cancel this now. Okay, so there are two ways to access the data extension in Marketing Cloud. The one way is that you can access the data extension from Email Studio, and you can also access the data extension from the Contact Builder. Okay, so we'll be talking about the differences that later, that if you access the data extension from Email Studio, so what is the difference? And if you access the data extension from Contact Builder, then like what difference that it makes. So for now, we'll be talking about one difference. So here we don't have the option to create the record, right? So as you can see, we have the option to clear the data or import, but we can not manually create a record in the data extension. So what I'll do, I'll go to Contact Builder. So I'll go to data extensions. Okay, now I'll expand this data extension folder, and we'll go to the bottom, and here we have the folder where we had set our data extensions. I'll click on this one, and I'll come to records, and here we are getting the option to add the record manually. Okay, so let's add the records. Okay, so these are the records that we'll be using to send the emails. So we'll keep it, mobile number, we'll keep it blank. Let's say city, let's say, this is the required field. So I think, okay, what else we have? Let's say 2001. So let's click, let's create another record. Okay, so now we have created two records over here. What else we can do? We can also import the data to add more records into this data extension, right? So that's what we have done. Now let's go back to email studio. So if we access the data extension from the email studio, then we will not be able to add the records manually, right? So we'll come to the data extensions. Okay, so here we can see we have two records, right? Now what we're going to do is that we will understand the different type of data extension. So I'll click on the create button. We'll go with the standard data extension only, and here we have three different creation method, right? So we already have seen that if we create from the new, then it means we have to create it from the scratch. Now the second option that we have it create from existing, right? So let me choose again. So if we'll choose create from existing, so what does it do? That we can choose any existing data extension, and using that data extension, we can create a new data extension. So in what scenarios we'll be using this one? So let's say we want to create another data extension, which would be having the similar attributes that we already have in the existing data extension. So we'll not be, creating it from the scratch, but we'll be using the uh, existing one, and we'll create a new data extension. Okay, so I'll click on OK. Let's say this is the data extension that we are creating, where we will store, let's say, VIP customers. Okay, so VIP customer information. I'll click on next, and here let's say we want to have one more field, that is membership level. Okay, and it would be null, and we'll click on create button. So now if you want to delete any field, we can delete. If you want to change anything over here, we can do that. But if you choose from existing, so it basically helps us to have the existing field, the structure, everything, and we just can make the necessary changes on top of it, and we can create a new data extension. So in that case, we don't have to create all these fields all over again. Okay, so we now can click on create button. Let's say we don't have, let's say, customer ID over here. Let me So in scenarios where we don't have any single field which can act as a primary key, so we can take multiple fields and make them as a primary key. Okay, but each field will not act as a primary key, but the combination of these fields will act as a primary key. So the primary key definition is that whatever you choose as a primary key cannot have a duplicate value. So for example, let's say we don't have a customer ID, okay, over here, and we think that the name cannot be the primary key, because name can be duplicated name. For two customers, the name can repeat, but let's say the name and date of birth. Okay, so the combination can also repeat, but we can take any such combination which cannot repeat. Let's say the email address plus mobile number. So we think that, okay, for somebody, email plus mobile number cannot repeat. So we can, mark this and this as a primary key. Let's say if you click on edit fields, okay, it is already not available. So we can mark these two fields as a primary key. So the combination of these two fields will act as a primary key, not individual. Okay, so if you create a list, then it is very simple. You go to the list and click on create button, and here you only need to define the name of the list. Okay, let's say test one two three. I'll click on the next button, and then I'll just have to click on save, and my list will be created. So here we are not defining any field name, any data type, nothing. So all these fields and everything is coming from the profile and preference management, right? Yeah. Whereas when we create a data extension, we have to provide the name of the data extension. Also, we have to define all the fields that we want to have in the data extension. So the fields from the data extension, it is not coming from anywhere. We will have to create it while the creation of the data extension. So now we'll go to our folder. Just will click on create button. So we have seen that this is the data extension that we have created using the existing method, which means we will get the all the fields from the existing data extension. Also, we can add, delete, whatever the changes that we want to make. So this will be, easier to create, and we don't have to create it from the scratch. Now, the another method of the creation is that create from template. So create from templates. So these are the pre-built templates given by Salesforce. So we have not created these templates, and we cannot create. These templates are created by Salesforce, right? Now you can choose any template, and each and every template basically serves a different purpose. I will talk about the templates in detail maybe in upcoming classes. For now, I'm just talking about that, the method of creating the data extension using this template. So let's say I'll choose the send log and click on OK. So whenever you create any data extension using the template, what happens is that you will get some of the fields from the template by default. So these fields are not editable, so you cannot delete these fields. You cannot, change the name, or you cannot, you cannot do any modification in the fields that are coming from the template. But additionally, if you want to add any other field, let's say you want to add first name or last name, or any other field that you want to add, that you can do. Okay. So the difference between, so when you create, so we have seen three different methods, right? Create from new, in which we have to mention each and every field from the scratch, right? Create from existing, which means that you will choose one existing data extension, and on top of it you can make the changes. Third one is that create from template, which means that you will get some of the fields from the template, and then you can create the data extension. Now, what is the use of this template, and what are the use cases of this template, that we will discuss in the upcoming class. So let's say if you have the if you don't have any existing data extension, right, where you have a similar set of fields, then obviously you will have to create it from the scratch. uh, the creation from template will only be helpful in some scenarios. Okay, so you won't use it in any typical campaign. These templates basically serve a different purpose. So that use case and everything we'll discuss in upcoming classes, like send log and SMS send log. So these are the templates that are used for capturing the send log information when we send the email. Okay, so this you do not use to store the customer information, but we use it for different purpose. Okay. So so now we have seen that there are three different ways to create the template. Sorry, to create the data extension, the standard one. Now we'll talk about that how you can create a filter data extension. So filter group is basically the selecting the records from a particular list. So here the only thing that is going to change is that instead of list we have the data extension. So you'll be building the criteria, you will be applying the criteria on the data extension, and then you can filter the records from the data extension and put that into a filter data extension. Okay, so we'll choose this one and click on OK. So in case of list, we have the profile attributes and the preference attributes using which we can build the criteria. Okay, in case of filter data extension, we have to choose the fields from the data extension. So let's say this is the data extension that we had created, right? Now what I want to do is, let me click on this one. Okay, so I want to build a criteria. Let's say where city is null, right, is empty. Okay, so where city is empty, I want to create a filter data extension where I want to keep all the records where city is empty, so that maybe we can target them, right? So this is like whenever we use a filter or whenever we do the segmentation, at the end of the day, what we are doing, we are preparing the target audience. Okay, so once we have this target audience, then we can send them the communication, email or SMS or any kind of communication that we can send. Okay, so this is the filter data extension that I'm creating, in which I want all those records from this data extension, which is my source data extension, where city is empty. So I'll click on save and build, and I'll have to provide the name. Let's say non-city customers. Okay, I'll click on save button. Okay, so here we have got one record where city is equals to empty. Okay, so where city is not empty, so it will not pull that record. Okay, so you can build any condition, let's say where email address should not be equal to null, right? Email address should not be empty, so you will get all those records in the filter data extension. Next one we have is a random data extension. So it is similar to the random groups where we can apply the, like, where we don't have to apply any criteria on the data extension, and we will select the records from the data extension on a random basis. So I'll click on random data extension, click on OK. Here we can select any data extension from where we want to pull the records randomly. So I'll choose this one only. So here we have two records, right? So we'll be choosing one subscriber randomly. So I'll click on add data extension. Either we can mention the size or the number of the records that I want to pull. So one, which means 50% of the total number of subscribers. Here we can mention the name of the data extension that will be created. So I'll keep it like this only for now. Okay, and click on save and build. You can click on OK now. You can refresh it. Okay, so I think once it is created, then it will be visible over here. Okay, so here we have got this random data extension in which we have got one record. So this is completely random, right? So we did not mention any criteria. So it is randomly selected by the system and then dumped into this data extension. If you want to create, what you can do, you can create that data extension, and then you can use that data extension to create other similar other data extensions, right? But you cannot, you know, technically you cannot name it as a template. That will be your data extension only. If the file layout is same, or like in marketing cloud terms, let's say the data extension is structure and fields and everything is going to remain same, then you can keep the same data extension, right? And then you can use that data extension as a target audience. Yeah, either you can create a new, either you can just copy the same data extension, right? So let's say if the file structure, sorry, and if the data extension structure is going to remain same, so you can, click on copy button, and then you can just, create a duplicate data extension with the same structure and thing. So you can just, make a copy of it. But you use the, create new method only when there's a slight modification, or if you are creating a new data extension, basically, with some changes. Okay. So this is a single data extension, right? Now we're going to use it multiple times. Yeah, you can use it now multiple times. You can use the same data extension in multiple campaigns. That is possible. Okay, so we have some other types of data extension. So we have synchronized data extension. So the synchronized data extension will be talking in detail when we'll talk about the Marketing Cloud Connect. But for now, let me just give you some glimpse. So let me duplicate. So synchronous data extensions are basically the data extensions which are not created by us. Okay. So that is the first point, that it is not created by us. Now these data extensions are used to keep the data or store the data that is coming from the synchronized source. Now what is the synchronized source? Here in our case it is Salesforce system, right? Salesforce CRM, which could be Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Community Cloud. So now how the data is coming. So if you'll go over here to the contact builder. Okay. So if you're familiar with the Salesforce CRM system, so there we have the tables, and that tables are called objects, right? So now help me understand this thing, that let's say if we have the data stored in objects in Salesforce CRM, let's say we have the contacts, right? So we have the contact object in which there are 1,000 contacts in Salesforce CRM. Now what I want to do, I want to pull the data from the contacts object, and I want to store this in Marketing Cloud. So how would I do that? Uh, let's say we don't have the Marketing Cloud, but we have to do it. So where we will store this? Should we store this in a notepad or what? So in Marketing Cloud, I mean, we will be using some table. If the data is coming from some table, then the best practice would be that we store this in a table so that we can keep the format consistent. So in Marketing Cloud, the table names are called data extensions, right? So what will happen that we should have the same structure of the data extension as we have of the contact object, so that we can store all the fields, all the rows and everything, right? But these data extensions are not created by us. Then how these data extensions are created? So let me take you to the data sources, and we'll talk about all these things later as well. But so we don't need to create everything. What we need to do, will come to the data sources, and in the data sources will come to the synchronized tab. Now in the synchronized tab, once the connection is established between Marketing Cloud and let's say Salesforce CRM system, like something like this will automatically appear. So we'll have to click over here, and then we get this option that is called setup object. So when we click over here, it will basically show all the objects that are available for the sync. So let it just render. So a system that is connected to this Marketing Cloud account. So there we have a total 242 available entities, which means your objects or tables that we can sync. Okay. So in order to sync, what we can do, we can, let's say if I want to sync this account contact role object, right? So I'll click on synchronize button, and then so there's no hard limit as such. But yeah, I mean, all the data that you are going to store in Marketing Cloud, right? So that is going to take some space in Marketing Cloud. So we should be, I mean, mindful that we should not, I mean, do it unnecessarily. But yeah, there's no hard limit as such. So let's say this is the object that we want to sync. Now here you can see some of the checkboxes are already pre-checked, and these are the disabled. So these are the mandatory fields. So if you want to sync the data, if you want to pull the data from this object in Marketing Cloud, then we have to keep these fields in the data extension. Apart from that, if you want to sync any other field data, that we can do that, right? So let's say I want to keep these two fields as well, created date and is deleted. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll check these two checkboxes as well and click on the next button. Over here, it is asking me that do you want to pull all the records from that object into Marketing Cloud, or you want all the records created since so whenever they are created, we have the created date, right? So let's say I only want those records from starting from, let's say, 2020. Okay, so I want all those records from the 2020. So that's something we can go ahead with. Or we have the another option that I want all those records where is deleted equals to true or false, that we can select. Okay, so these are the three different options that you can choose to pull the records from the Salesforce object. Now the poll schedule, this is a frequency, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and 1 hour. What does it mean? So based on this frequency, the system will check for the update, and the same update will happen in Marketing Cloud. Let's say uh, you have seen this object with Marketing Cloud, and right now it is 9:37 p.m. Okay, so after 3 minutes, let's say 9:40 p.m., one record is created in this object. Okay, so system will not check at 9:40 and will pull the record. It will check every 15 minutes. Okay, so right now if you sync at 9:37 p.m., then 15 minutes means that 9:52, right? So it will check 9:52 that if there is any update in the object or not, and if there's a new record created or updated, then the same update or the same new record will also be synced with Marketing Cloud data extension. Okay, so every 15 minutes, so 9:37, 9:52, and then 10:07. Okay, so every 15 minutes it will check. So you can choose a frequency that every 1 hour the system should check for the updates, or every 15 minutes. So we generally keep it 15 minutes. I'll click on save and synchronize and click on OK over here. Okay, so sync has started. So now we will refresh this. So in few seconds, you will see that one more synchronous data extension has been created for this account contact role object. Okay, so right now it is syncing. So once this is complete, then we will be able to see the synchronous data extension over here. Okay, so we can look at the existing synchronous data extension. So which is contact underscore Salesforce. So similarly, we had synced the contact object, and all these fields are created by the system. Okay. So one thing that you can notice over here, then we don't have the import button, because we cannot import the data into the synchronous data extension, because the data coming into this data extension is from the synchronized source, right? Synchronized system. So that is your synchronized data extension. So you need to remember two things. The first thing is that these are the data extension that are not created by us. We can basically sync the objects, but the data extension creation is done by the system. The second thing is that that this data extension helps us to store the data coming from the synchronized source. We have some other options that might work. So we can, use the API, or yeah. So when depending on what system that we have, we can look at the integration options. But this one specifically is only for the Salesforce systems, which is Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, or Community Cloud. So it is a unidirectional flow from Salesforce CRM to Marketing Cloud. I'm talking only about the synchronized data extension. Okay. So we cannot update this data extension over here. Okay. It will basically only accept the, so it is a read-only data. Okay, so if you look at this one, it is a read-only data. We cannot modify the data over here. Okay, so it is only read-only. So if you want to make any changes in the data for this, let's say, object, then all these change, let's say if you want to delete a record, or if you want to update a record, or if you want to create a new record, all these changes will happen in the Salesforce system because that is a source system, right? Now here the data only gets synced and we can only consume the data. We can only read the data in Marketing Cloud. Okay. So here we can see that the synchronous data extension has been created and we have got all those fields that we had selected at the time of the syncing the object, right? So next data extension we have is the Salesforce data extension. So Salesforce data extension is not any different type of data extension that you would be creating. So if you let's say click on create button, you will have the similar options, right? A standard, filtered, random, and let's say if you click on OK, so everything is same, right? So the data extension that you create normally, you can call it as a Salesforce data extension if that data extension is placed inside this Salesforce data extension folder. So where we have this folder, so here we have this folder. Okay, so any normal data extension and any ordinary data extension that you would be creating, standard, random, or filter, if you keep it in this folder that is called Salesforce data extensions, then you can call that data extension as a Salesforce data extension. Okay, so in terms of creation, there's nothing like this, no change, or there's nothing different. But in terms of the usage or functionality, there's one uh, difference that we have between our ordinary data extension and the Salesforce data extension. Okay, so what happens is, here you can see something called Salesforce send emails. We'll come to it later. Um, so using Salesforce send emails, what we can do, that we can send the Marketing Cloud emails directly to the uh, Salesforce reports and campaigns. So in Salesforce CRM system, we have something called reports and campaigns, right? So we can send the email to them. Also, if you want to use this feature, Salesforce send email, then we can only choose the Salesforce data extension as a target audience and not any other ordinary data extension. But now you must be wondering that let's say if you want to send the email, so how does that matter that if we use the Salesforce send emails or any other different email method, right, to send the email to the customer? So the difference is, so when you send it normally to the customers, what happens is, uh, let's say if those customers are coming from the Salesforce system, okay, so let's say there's a lead in Salesforce that you pull into Marketing Cloud, and then you send the email to that lead. Okay, it could be a promotional email or something like that. Now if you want to send the tracking data, okay, so the tracking data means that if that customer has opened the email or not, if the customer clicked on the email or not, or if the email bounced or what exactly happened, right? So if you want to uh send the tracking data back to Salesforce, then you will have to use the Salesforce send emails. Okay, so there are two, I mean, there are, like, if I'll just segregate the email sending method into two parts. So one, we send it normally, there you cannot send the tracking data back to Salesforce, and in case of Salesforce and emails, we can send the tracking data back to Salesforce system, provided that the target audience is coming from the Salesforce system. Then only we'll be able to send the tracking data back to Salesforce. Okay. So whenever we use the Marketing Cloud Connect, so one object that will be created by the system, that is called individual email results. Okay, IER.
Okay. Yeah.
So the data that we are going to send from Marketing Cloud, like that will be sent by default. So it is going to store in this individual email results, and the fields would be click, open, unsubscribe, and send date, subject line. So these would be the fields in the individual email results. So we will, I mean, maybe today or tomorrow, we'll be looking at the different options to send the email from Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Okay, so there you will understand the difference that if we, let's say, use method number 1 to send the email, then it is not going to send the tracking data back to Salesforce. But if we'll use Salesforce and emails to send the email, then it is going to send the tracking data back to Salesforce CRM. So let me show you so that I think it will clear more things. So as I mean, whenever we send the email, we have to choose the target audience, right? Yeah. So if we choose the Salesforce send, then here we can choose three different type of target audience. One could be reports, another could be campaigns, and the third one could be your Salesforce data extensions. So let me see where we have recipients here. So let me just choose anything. So just 23. Okay, so here you can see. Okay, I think so. Here it is only showing the Salesforce data extension that we can choose as a target audience, but here we also get the reports and campaigns. I think the permissions are not enabled while doing the integration for the reports and campaigns. That is why it is not showing over here. Generally, we get the. I mean, if the we have granted the permission for the reports and campaigns, then we can choose that as well as a target audience. Okay, so here we can choose the recipients, and then if we send the email, then the tracking data basically would be synced back with the Salesforce CRM. Okay, so you look at this share data extension. So share data extension is nothing, but if you basically put any data extension into the share data extension folder, then that data extension will basically be shared across different business units. Okay, you can imagine the business unit as a workspace. Okay, so whenever we purchase the account from Salesforce Marketing Cloud, it could have one or more than one business units. Okay, you will have one parent account, and in that parent account you can have one or more than one business units. We create the different business units for different reasons. Let's say we have a big brand, and under that big brand we have a small brands. So for example, Hindustan Unilever. So this is a big brand, and in which this is a parent brand, right? In which we can have many child brands. So for each and every brand, we want to keep a different business unit, because the sender profile, I mean, the from email, from email address, from email name, from email address, everything is going to be different, right? So but there are some data extensions which will be used by all the business units. So what we can do, we can put all those data extensions that we want to keep common across different business units. We can keep them into the shared data extension folder. Okay, so any user, if I have the access to another business unit as well, so if it is in the shared data extension folder, then this data extension will also be accessible by the users of different business units. Okay, but if I'm keeping the data extension, let's say over here, which is in my local space, the data extension from here. Okay, so it is similar to your Google Drive. I mean, whenever you share it with someone, right? So if you share it with someone, so you and the other people with whom you have shared, they will be able to access this particular asset, right? But if you keep something in your local Google Drive, then it is only accessible by you, right? Audiences is nothing. So when you click on audiences, it will take you to the all subscribers only. Okay, so it will take you to my subscribers, where you can go to uh, all subscribers list, groups and everything. Okay. Okay, now we'll talk about publication list. Okay, I think we don't have much time, but this topic will take a lot of time. Okay, let's start. So what are publication lists? So publication list basically helps you to manage the customers opt-in and opt-out. Okay. So let's say we have this news website, and in that news website we have different categories. Now the customer, what the customer can do, that the customer can opt in or opt out to a particular category in the news that they are interested, right? And they only want to receive the communication or the emails related to that particular category. So let's say in a news website we have, entertainment, finance, education, or maybe Bollywood, Hollywood, right? So we might have different categories. So if I'll choose some categories, then I should only receive the communication related to that particular category. So how we will be able to do that? Using the publication list. So what we can do, actually we don't have much time today. So we can create a publication list, and there we will be saving all the, okay. But before that, okay, actually this topic now will take I think 20-30 minutes, and I don't want to break it in the middle.